been getting a ton of requests for Baja Blast beef jerky. I gotta be honest, I've never had it. As far as I know, you can only get it at Taco Bell. But let's you and me make this Baja Blast beef jerky recipe. Okay, first things first, we're gonna start with our pre-sliced eye of round. Now, if you don't know, I usually keep pre-sliced bags in my freezer at around 2 pounds. That way, when we need to make test batches, I could just pull them out, thaw them, and I'm ready to go. Okay, it looks like this one's coming in just under 2 pounds at about 1 pound, 14.5 ounces. Okay, to get started, this one's gonna be a little different process than usual since we're starting with the Baja Blast soda that we got from Taco Bell. So what we wanna do is we wanna reduce this soda down to a more concentrated form. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull out our convection cooktop, and in a pan we're gonna pour all of the Baja Blast. We're gonna bring this up to a boil, then we're gonna reduce it down to about 25%, which means we boil away about 75% of the liquid in it. This will give us a really strong concentrated Baja Blast flavor. All right, let me get the bowl out here. Now we're just gonna start adding all the ingredients together. So I'm gonna start with the beef. Now we're gonna add in that reduced Baja Blast. Next, we're gonna add the juice of 2 whole limes. To give even more citrus flavor, we're gonna add the zest of an orange. Good thing about zesting an orange, and now you get to eat it. Now let's just add a little bit of seasoning for some savory flavor. 2 teaspoons of sea salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, a teaspoon of granulated garlic, and a teaspoon of onion powder. Now with all the ingredients in the bowl, all that's left up, get your hands dirty, mix this stuff thoroughly. Now, do not half-ass this step. So the first thing I always do, especially with pre-sliced meat, is just pull all the pieces apart. Make sure none of them are sticking together. You see how when they're laying flat, they start to stick to each other. So you really want to pull everything apart, make sure nothing's sticking to each other. And once you think you've got everything fully separated, just start mixing that stuff thoroughly. Now you're looking for 2 things here in this process. One is all the powdered ingredients get properly dissolved into all of the liquids. That makes for a real consistent marinade. And 2, that every single side of every single piece of this meat gets fully covered in the Baja Blast marinade. Meat sounds. Now we just seal it up tight with the lid, and then I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator for about 48 hours. All right, so the meat here has been marinating for over 2 full days. It's time to get it all racked up. So racking this stuff up isn't exactly rocket science. If you've watched any of our videos, you'd know that there's basically 2 rules here. 1, just make sure none of the meat touches. You want plenty of room for the air to circulate all around the meat. 2, just make sure everything's laying flat. You don't want any folds or anything goofy going on that's gonna prevent the meat from evenly drying. And I'm never too worried about tetrasizing the pieces on this tray. I kind of know our capacity here is usually somewhere between 3 to 5 pounds total for this particular dryer. So at only 2 pounds of meat, I can kind of spread out a little bit. I got plenty of rack space to fit all this. Now all we gotta do, set the time and temperature. This is a pretty light marinade, so I don't think it's gonna take as long as usual. We're gonna start checking it at about 2.5 hours in at 140 degrees. All right, well, we're waiting for about 2 days for this to marinate. This is a perfect time for me to ask you, if you are getting any sort of value out of this whatsoever, or you think you're gonna make this, consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. We're making brand new jerky recipe videos all the time, and I don't want you to miss a single one. All in here, it's been about 4 hours. Now, I started checking it a little after 2.5 hours, thought it needed a little more time, ended up running it in the dryer for about 3 hours total. Then it's been sitting to room temperature for about an hour, and I really like this texture. It's not too done. It's got a good rip to it. So at 3 hours in the dryer and an hour sitting at room temperature, I'm gonna call this one done. All right, before I start digging into all this jerky, the first thing we gotta do is weigh it out and see what our yield is. Looks like this batch is coming in at just under a pound at exactly 15 ounces. That gives us a total yield at just under 50%. All right, this is the time I finally get to try this stuff. I have to be honest, I have absolutely no idea what to expect. I know Mountain Dew describes this as a tropical citrusy type of Mountain Dew. Admittedly, never really had the Baja Blast, so no clue what to expect, but I think that orange zest and that lime juice definitely gonna pull out. So, all right, so let me just get into it. It's got a good texture. I like this. Maybe a little on the dry side for me, but it's a really good texture. I definitely think we pulled it out at the right time. That orange zest is one of the first flavors that hits me. I don't know that I pick up on the Baja Blast but I definitely get the citrus from the orange and the lime. Honestly, I like it. This isn't as sweet as I was expecting. I thought when we reduced that Baja Blast that sticky, syrupy flavor was really gonna pull through. The Baja Blast definitely adds something on the back end, but it's not a Baja Blast forward flavor. I really like this, honestly. You guys don't care about what I think, so let me go out there, drag a bunch of our taste testers in, and let's see what they think of the Baja Blast. Have you had Baja Blast? Is that something you drink regularly?
No.
Okay.
I get the lime, or like that lime lemon kind of flavor.
Can you taste the Baja Blast?
No, not really. I almost wonder if you need to like add sugar to it, as crazy as that sounds. Like add sugar or like honey or something.
To make it more soda-like?
Yeah. Overall, I don't get really any Baja Blast or just any of the flavors that I guess I was expecting. So I don't feel like it's aptly named. So I'm gonna say no to this one.
So Baja Blast beef jerky, you ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right.
Can you differentiate between the orange zest and the lime, or are you just getting general citrusy?
I'm trying to actually separate it in my mind here, but I think more of the orange. Overall, that's an interesting flavor. That's really interesting. You know, I don't really get too much sweet out of it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm surprised by. I was expecting it to be sweeter,
right,
with that Mountain Dew, you know, down to a syrup.
Of all things, Mountain Dew should bring
be.
sugar.
Should be.
Right. I would say definitely a good attempt. I'd like to find out how we could link that sweetness to it. It might give it a little bit of something, a little different dimension. But overall, I'll just say I like it.
You don't drink a lot of soda. Have you ever had Baja Blast?
If I did, it was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've never.
I don't know how long it's been around. That may have been a lie.
There we go. All right, here we go.
Ooh. I'm pulling out some lime, some like orange zesty, not like an orange flavor, but like the zest, you know, the rind actually has like a different flavor to it. It's a little bit more complex of a flavor than I was anticipating. If you told me it was Mountain Dew flavored, I'm my brain searching for it, but I wouldn't have guessed that. Surprisingly not that sweet, honestly.
Really?
I was expecting it to be on the sweeter side, and that's why I was surprised it was so dry. If you're into Baja Blast, I think this could be your speed, but I'm not into Baja Blast, so I'm gonna have to pass. I'm not feeling it so much, even though it's aptly named and executed pretty well.
We love it when you guys make comments on what flavors we should make next. So if you have any great ideas for a flavor, leave it down in the comments. Who knows, we may make your flavor in our next video. So if you're gonna make this recipe, leave me a comment down below and let me know how it goes. Let me know what you changed, what you didn't like about it, what you would make differently next time. All that stuff is really good information, not just for us, but for the other viewers. Thanks for making this maple bourbon bacon jerky with us today, and I'll see you next time in the jerky.com test kitchen.